everybody, and welcome to another episode of Allegedly Incredible. I'm Danielle, aka Lady Faye,
and it's your girl Mel, aka Mel Supremo.
And just so you know, we are two friends, and we're giving you our thoughts and opinions based on we're giving you advice based on things that we've done so far in life or learning to do. You know, I always mess this up, and I'm going to give you guys a disclaimer. Our thoughts and views are constantly evolving. We are not experts, nor do we claim to be, but we will have experts on the show. And we won't always agree with each other, and that's totally okay. Take the advice you need, whatever advice you don't want, just throw it out and give it to somebody else. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about, how's your credit looking? How's your credit looking? We want to know.
You know, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm normally good with my credit, and I can tell you, like, I'm easy in the 700s. But lately, man, I'm scared. I don't even want to look at the front door. And I'm only scared because I'm gonna be disappointing myself and my standards. Right. But it shouldn't. You know what? I gotta check it at the end of the day.
So we have a special guest on to talk with us, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. All right.
Hello, I'm Helena, and I am the owner of Financially Fit Credit Repair Services. I'm happy to be here, ladies. Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, no problem. So first, you had talked about your credit. My credit used to be so immaculate. Mm-hmm. When I had moved, I was like in the almost like 750, that
was the standard.
It was like 750 and higher, 760 I think I got up to. Then COVID hit, and I relied on my credit a little bit more than I originally planned
with the rest of America.
So it has dropped. It's not horrible, but I want it to get better. I want to get back into like the higher 700s. So this is why we're like, financially, me and Mel were like, we're trying this year, 2022, we're getting our finances together.
Yeah.
So
making it like intentional.
Yes. And you know what's crazy too? I didn't realize how many people don't have credit, like at all. Like there are a lot of people who don't have credit. So I wanted to ask you, what makes credit important? Why do we need it?
I think that credit is important because what are they doing without it? Now, you said that a lot of people don't have credit. What do they have?
Cash?
I don't mean in the sense of, well, is it a lot of cash? Meaning, how do they get a car?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yes.
How do they buy a house?
They don't got no house.
That's a problem.
Right.
Especially when you're like our age.
How do they finance their children's education?
They got kids?
Well, people, if they do, some of us do. Even for ourselves, how do you finance your own?
Right.
A lot of us are going to school older, and you might need a loan. How are you getting out a loan?
Right. And I had learned that because for years, I was like, I'm not going to get credit. I don't need it. I'll pay everything in cash. But then when I was really like, I'm trying to move out and be on my own, everybody's like, well, what's that credit score looking like? How's this looking like? How's this? And I was just like, well, I guess that's something I need to start building. And like nobody ever really talks to you about the importance of credit. I think that everybody talks to you about how deep in debt they are from credit. So in your mind, growing up, you're just like, I don't want to have credit. I don't want all that debt.
That's what I was going to ask. Just because of what you said. You said that you weren't going to have credit.
Right.
What made you decide that?
It was just like I said, I had so many people in my life that were like, oh, my credit's horrible. My credit's this. And like, it's just so bad. And I was just, the whole concept of, okay, so.
Credit equals bad.
Yeah, it was just like credit equals bad. And then the whole concept of like, it was like borrowing money. And in my head, it was like, well, if I don't have the money to buy it, then why not just save up and buy it later? But I didn't realize that.
We never heard them say, the truth was I mismanaged my credit. Like, I know I heard the same thing growing up. Credit is bad. My credit is bad. I owe all these credit cards. And as a child, yes, you're thinking like, something bad is happening and you don't realize, like my parent, my aunt, whoever is your guardian or whoever's telling you this information, they're not telling you like, I maxed my credit card out at Walmart. No. They leave that part out.
Right. So by the time I started getting credit and starting to establish credit, like I had no, like, I kind of looked online to figure out certain things, or like, okay, well, as long as I paid by a certain date, you know, whatever. And at first I was really good. I was like, as soon as I buy something, I paid it. I was like, buy something, paid it. So it's just kind of like, I didn't really know the breakdowns of credit, or like how many different credit scores there were, or like the fact that you were entitled to get your credit score and all this other stuff. Like, it was just
free,
1 year. And I had no clue about any of it. And it was just like, okay, you're an adult now. You're trying to move out. You're trying to get a car. You're trying to get all this stuff. And they're like,
ignoring
and it's like, you can't even. My thing is, like, you can't even get a car without the credit, but then nobody wants to co-sign for you. But even if they wanted to, they can't, because their credit is like so bad.
Right. So what are your thoughts on the lack of education in our community?
I think there needs to be more education on what credit is, because at least like in my case, my parents kind of just threw me into it, especially when when I got to, I think it was 24, and you're a dependent now, you're independent for your financial aid. So they're like, okay, you should be able to take this on by yourself.
Right.
And they walked me through it, but it wasn't as thorough, because I don't think that they knew exactly what they were talking about.
Right.
And then on top of that, I went to go get myself a car, and thank God my mom's credit was good enough to co-sign, but my dad was like, you better not mess up your mother's credit. And I was just like...
And most people in our community don't have not that they should, but like you don't even have a person to co-sign for you.
Right.
So then what are you supposed to do?
And unfortunately, I had friends who their family members were opening cards up in their names while they were away at college. And their parents led with the, I'm gonna help you build your credit, never acknowledging the fact that they have poor money management skills. And they max it out, and I mean, they didn't pay their own credit cards back, so they didn't pay your credit card back either.
Like having cable bills and your sons and daughters.
Right. And so then that leads me to my next question is like, so when should you start establishing credit? Like I said, I know you said that there were people that were getting credit cards in their kids' names and stuff. First of all, how is that even legal? I don't know how that works. And
yeah, right? That is true.
I'm trying to say this the right way. Basically, you're away at college, you're 18, mail comes to your primary address, your parents' address. They get an offer for a credit card, your parents fill it out, accept the offer, the credit card comes to the house. You don't necessarily have an idea that this exists because you're not checking your credit.
So that's fraud.
Yes. Yes.
So those parents need to go to jail.
But also, let's be real, who's hurting their parents in? I would, but I've spoken to people, unfortunately, and the amount of debt they were in was caused by their parents, and there was nothing they can do, and they said, like, I'm never going to report them, for what they did, because it's my parents. So.
Right. Wow, that's so deep. I mean, my parents never did that. Thank God. Like, I'm so happy.
Right.
But at the same time, like, we didn't have like complete credit conversations.
Oh,
so they always told us to establish credit, but we never had the conversation of, okay, well, at this age, this is when you should be applying, and at like these are mistakes we made, so this is for you.
So a couple of things. For most of us, we were just told, have good credit.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody said what to do to have the good credit. Nobody said how to build the credit. They just said, have good credit. And also, finances is taboo in the Black culture.
Yeah.
So I don't know about y'all households, but parents weren't really forthcoming that they weren't paying their bills or not paying their bills the way they should. So they really couldn't tell you how to do it because they weren't doing it themselves.
Right. And that was one thing I also had to learn, because I think at one point I felt like I might have felt a little bitter that we didn't really have as many conversations about money as I wanted to growing up. But then at the same time, now that I'm older, I'm like, well, if they didn't know what they're doing, how are they supposed to teach me? Like, how are they supposed to teach me? But I think that also it's kind of our responsibility now at our age to outgrow that, kill that generation.
Everybody has the same story. Nobody taught me. And I feel like our generation, we have all this access to this information, and we do not tap into it. Like you said, and I heard you when you said that y'all were reading things and seeing, okay, how do I build? How do I do this? Like, that's taking the time out to educate yourself. But a lot of us just don't do that.
Right. And that was always the toughest thing. But so sorry, let me go back to what I was thinking. So what age you can get a credit card at age 18? Is that when you
can get a credit card at age 18?
Okay.
But you can actually add your child or a minor, under 18. I can't give you all the specifics because there's different, like Amex is 13 and different cards, different ages. Some of them, they don't have age limit at all. They can be a baby.
Yeah.
And you can add your child as an authorized user, and that will boost their credit.
Okay.
But it only boosts their credit if you're managing your credit well. So you want to add your child to a card that's been open for a couple years, has a high limit, has a low balance, which most people don't. You have a low balance, no missed payments, because they're piggybacking off your history. That card's going to show up on their credit report.
Right.
So if you have all these lates, now they have all these lates. If you're maxed out, now they're maxed out. So it's a great way to build your credit, but it's only effective if you are taking care of your own credit first.
Okay. I got you. So,
but it's definitely, so I've done it for my nieces and nephews.
Okay.
And my one niece, she'll be 22. I did it for her when she was 18.
Okay.
That put her at like a 750.
Okay.
I added her as an authorized user. The reason why I love to do this is because I'm not giving anyone access to my credit.
Okay.
I'm not a cosigner.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I will never be a cosigner.
Okay.
I heard that even in the Bible it says that you're not supposed to cosign.
It does. It does.
So I mean, if Jesus said it.
So when I did that, it boosted her credit score. She applied for a credit card. She was approved for it, and now it's up to her to maintain her credit. But even from doing that, she got a credit card, built her credit up. She got a car, no cosigner at 19. Like, all these things are happening because she kind of was like set up to win. But again, I remind her all the time, like, it's up to you that it stays up.
Right.
With that number.
And that doesn't mean, like, when you go and put them as an authorized user, you don't give them that card.
Listen, so the mail came to my house and my niece opened it.
No.
Like, oh, I got a credit card or whatever. And I said, no. Snip, like, you don't have access to, you can use my history, but you will never use my card.
Bro.
Wow, that's smart. That's really smart. So I've heard people do that. So I gotta take notes.
I just heard about that last week.
It is truly effective. It works.
Yeah, okay. I have heard about that in my own research. So my next question is, can you explain exactly like what they're looking for in credit, like in your credit history, and what percent each one does?
Okay, so your credit score is made up of 5 components. They are your payment history, the amounts owed, your length of history, the credit mix, and the new credit or inquiries.
Okay.
Payment history and amounts owed. Payment history is 35%. Amounts owed is 30%. So already 65% of your score is just, do you pay your bills on time? Do you keep your balances low? Those 2 things alone will always keep you with a high score.
Okay.
But most people don't. They either don't do both or one of them is lacking. Length of history, they want to see that you're able to maintain credit for a period of time. Credit mix, they're just looking to see that you can handle different accounts. Credit cards, installment loans, like student loans, card payment, things like that, a mortgage. And then the inquiries. People obsess over them. It's 10%. Not that it's not important, but that's not what's killing your score.
Okay, got it.
But even when you get so we just bought a house last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we originally were going in for both of us. They were going to use both of our credit, but the first mortgage didn't go through. Not because we didn't have good credit, but it was because of the amount that we made and the amount of our balance, I guess. They didn't like that. So then my husband went and did it for himself, and he instantly got it. But all those times, I think we did it 3 times, and my credit was like at 700 something, and it went down dramatically. I was like, bro, like 20 points, come on. And I kind of got on him, and he's trying to reassure me, oh, it's going to go back, But I that anxiety is like, I'm never gonna get that because it takes forever to build that jump back up.
It does.
Like I work hard for these credit
It does, and unfortunately, you're gonna lose points when you do run your credit, and you have to run your credit to get a mortgage.
Right.
But the best thing you can do is run your credit when you know you have good credit, like you did. Meaning, a lot of times people are at Old Navy or Target. When we're checking out and they offer you that card, like, my score not even high enough to be getting this. So you're letting them run your credit. You're taking the hit without getting approved or anything. So if you're going to do it, you just want to know that it was for a good reason.
Right. That makes sense.
But then they take into account like that you're in the market to get.
Yes.
So it's not even that bad. You know, I was like, bro, like why is it?
Oh yeah, no, you want all your points.
Yeah.
So my other question was, which is actually that's a good point. But so when they look at your credit score, what are the bureaus that they're looking at?
So you will never know specifically what lender is looking at what credit score. So there's three main bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And what most people don't realize is that they're not friends.
For real?
Yes. So people, I do a lot of disputing for my clients. So they'll say, oh, well, it came off of TransUnion. Why didn't Experian do the same thing? TransUnion has no idea what Experian just did.
Okay.
TransUnion is in Pennsylvania. Equifax is in Atlanta. And Experian is in Texas. They have the same jobs, but they're not the same companies. Like they don't talk to each other.
Are they even competing? Like or no?
No. They're just the three top reporting agencies.
And they're minding their own business.
Yeah. So like if you send a letter to TransUnion, Experian has no idea you sent them a letter. Like they don't know. So they're looking at one of the three. I want to point out that if you apply for something and you get denied, you will receive a letter in the mail, and they will tell you what credit bureau they used, and they'll tell you the reason why. So then you might know, okay, Capital One or the dealership uses this specific this specific credit bureau, and they deny me for this reason. But they don't tell you when you go to apply for something, oh, we're going to look at your Experian. You won't know.
Got it.
So you want to keep all three, around the same numbers.
Okay, that's good to know. So then my next question is, what is a good score to have? Like, what's the good...
Like the range?
Yeah, like what's the really good range, and then what's like a bad range for people who don't know?
Well, let me start off by saying that 800 is like 1%, less than 1% of Americans.
I didn't even know that it went above 720.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what the commercials say.
It does. So it's funny because my first couple years of business, my mind was just so set on 750s for everybody. Like, I want you to have a 750, I want you to have a 750. And then you really learn, like, it takes time. And you can do the same things with a lower score.
Oh.
Okay.
Some of the same things. So I said that to say, like, so now I exclusively work with mortgage lenders and realtors. I'm doing credit for homeownership. That's my thing. And I want you to just get approved. Not saying just get approved, but I want you to be approved for a house. That's 620. So so anything above 620 is good to me.
Okay.
I know everybody wants the 750, and some people they want it without taking the time. Like length of history is like 7 years worth of credit. If you're in year one, you're not going to have that time in.
Okay. So 620. Wow, I never even thought. So anything below that that's like you need to fix yourself.
Yes. But keep in mind now, your credit score is basically what determines your interest rates.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
So it's how much you're paying for something. So the higher your score, the lower your payment. So don't get me wrong, 750 is always the goal.
Right.
But depending on what you're trying to do, you just want to be in the 600s or above.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So then, like, if that's the case, even if you pay your balance off, then you're not, just so you know, you're not going to get interest, right?
If you pay it off before the statement closes.
Before the statement closes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It won't even matter what your interest rate if you pay off that balance.
First of all, let me tell you, when I learned that was like a huge game changer for me. Well, when I first was establishing credit, because like I said, I was like, okay, when's the closing date? I didn't care about when the payment was due.
People don't even know closing dates exist.
I was concerned about the closing date, so best believe I know the closing date on all my cards, and I'd be like, okay, we paying this off right before. Like I said, I have automatic payments as well. I'm very big on automatic payments. That way you don't have to worry.
Oh,
Yes.
no. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I don't do automatic payments for nothing except for Easy Pass.
You let Easy Pass do automatic payment?
Because I'm not trying to be. So there's a whole Easy Pass story. Danielle knows my life. There was a point.
Only because I know, like, they replenish often, depending on how you're driving,
So they replenish, like, my replenishments are more like $25. So I'm like, whatever, you can do that, whatever you want. I spend $25 just to get through McDonald's. But anyway, I only do automatic payments for Easy Pass because everything else, I need to have a mental note that's like, okay, Mel, you paid this. And if I'm broke, then there's something wrong. I don't want someone taking out my money without me knowing it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you actually know, if you budget at the beginning of the month, that's not a problem. See, that's what your problem is.
I don't budget at the beginning of the month. I just know what needs to be paid. I know what bills need to be paid, and they shall be paid by the end of that closing date.
Okay.
Well, you bugging.
And that's how I got to my like 749s and stuff.
It really depends on the person, and I'm saying that because a lot of people cannot like you're storing a lot in your brain.
Oh no, it's on that.
Oh, okay. No, I'm saying that because like so now you got to remember who you got to pay, the closing dates. Like that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And then so I do that, and I also put things on my phone, on my calendar. It's like, oh, reminder, next week is da-da-da. I'm like, I know every time I get paid, this half of the paycheck gets to these things, and that paycheck gets to those things, and whatever I have over, I either save it or I spend it, and I'm with like 3 cents for the rest of the month.
But you know what though? I swear to God, I swear by automatic payments, and the only reason why I swear by them is like, at the beginning of the month, I already know what I'm gonna be putting in, and sometimes I do a little extra, but I set my automatic payment date before the actual payment date. Which, by the way, I don't know if people know this, but you can change your dates on your cards, but I don't think a lot of people know that. So I do my payment dates. Well, when I wasn't getting paid weekly and I was getting paid twice a week, I changed it based on when I was gonna get paid.
Right.
But now that I get paid weekly, it don't matter. But I just make sure that it gets paid because
She's living that good life.
I'm never gonna get a late fee. You ain't gonna pay. You ain't gonna catch me with a late fee.
Yes.
You're not gonna catch me with nothing. But I'm very much so like automatic payments set that up, and that's how I make sure that I'm always exceptional on my payments. They might get me, maybe I use my balance a little bit higher than I should have that month.
Right.
But
most of the time, I don't do that. Which reminds me, so if you have a card, let's say you have a $4,000 card, what's the highest you should go? Like, what percentage amount should you use of that card?
So I know that it's encouraged to not go 30%, and I tell people that, depending on where they are with their balances, but really it should be 10%.
Oh,
10%.
yeah.
No, and I'm saying that to say, I tell people all the time, like if you have $1,000 card, you can spend $500, but pay it back down under $100. That's all I'm saying. Like you can use however much you want, but just pay it back down.
Right.
It makes it a lot harder if you surpass that.
Yes, yes,
It does.
And some people don't know. They do this thing called chasing the balance. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where your credit limit got lowered.
Oh no!
What? Your credit limit can get lowered?
Your credit limit is not a guarantee, so they can give you $5,000, but if they see you misusing it, or they feel like you're a risk for them, they'll change it to $1,000.
Get out of here!
You could be a customer for 10 years. She's a little shaky this year. We're going to lower that.
Get out of here! What? I thought it just kept going, or they just stopped it.
No. So I know someone who. She had a high balance. It wasn't even maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500, but she was just kept making the minimum payments, and I guess that was just a red flag for that particular credit card company. And what they do with chasing the balance is when she paid it to like 1,200, they made her limit 1,200, and then 1,000, they made the limit 1,000. Like they kept lowering as she was like getting lower. They were lowering her limit so that she couldn't run it up again and take forever to pay them back off. That if you miss payments. They can chase the balance. Just anything that they feel like you're a liability now.
Can you, after you get to that point, when you get to that point, can you grow it back up?
You can.
Okay.
You
All
can.
right. Okay. But
It's like being a punishment. Like I gotta earn your trust again.
Yeah,
I have to.
Wow.
work my way back up.
Okay.
That's a new one. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but you got to think about it. If you had a high limit and a high balance, but you're paying it down, and they chase that balance, now you're still maxed out. Like, so it's still hurting your scores because
yeah.
your utilization is still so high.
Yeah. So it's really hard to get out of that after that point.
It is.
Whew. That's what I get nervous about because, like I said, during COVID, I think I ended up like spending more than I typically did just because just money things. So now I'm in a I made a plan because I think that's the biggest thing. I think some people don't make a plan. They just don't want to look at their bad situation. And because they don't want to look at their bad situation, they don't go back to it.
She said that, like, she said what everybody says. She hasn't looked because she doesn't. I don't want to see it.
Yeah,
like,
me. I
so
have
for
to see
a lot
it.
of people, me too. But for a lot of people, you're like, okay, well, how's your credit report? I don't know. Well, did you look? No. I either you don't know how to read it or you just don't want to read it.
Okay? Right.
I know where I was, and I don't want to see where I am right now.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I just have to make a plan. It's like a plan of action, and I'm one of those people, I don't blame anybody for any situation I'm in other than myself. There's a lot of circumstances I could have handled things differently. So now that I'm in this situation, it's just like, it's your responsibility to get yourself out. So if you got to work 2-3 jobs to pay off this card faster or sooner, whatever, so these bad things don't happen to you, then that's what you got to do. But you got to make a plan. You got to look at it. You got to know what you're doing so you can make a plan.
Liberating it is to tell someone that your credit sucks because of you. Like, it is, because don't get me, I have clients, because everybody's doesn't need my services.
Right.
So when someone who needs my services, I interview them first to make sure that they do. But then people I look at their credit reports and I'm like, yeah, this is this way because of you. I had someone tell me I need those inquiries off. And I said, I think that the 4 maxed out credit cards are way more important than the inquiry. So let's ignore those 20 points right there, and let's focus on the 60 points that's affecting you because you maxed out all your cards. And then honestly, sometimes you plan of action. Like I put it back in your court now. Like you need to pay off this $5,000. What's up?
Yeah. And
what's up with this?
And that's exactly where I'm at. And I think that it's just like, I think that's a whole nother issue, because that's what I had to realize. I was like, yo, am I emotionally spending here? That's a whole different topic. That's a topic for another day. But it's like, am I emotionally spending here? Because when you really sit back and you're like, how did I get, that's one thing. It's like, how did I get here? How did I get to a point where I'm like, these balances are high when I was always on top of it? So what happened?
Hey.
And then you have to be like, yo, you have to sit back.
Food is a hell of a drug.
There's food, there's clothes, there's shopping, there's stuff like.
And we also live in a treat yourself culture.
Yep.
Which I'm a part of. Don't cheat yourself, treat yourself.
Right. And I think that that's when you have to take accountability for yourself and be like, okay, well, I got to get my finances together. I'm like I said, you put yourself in this situation, so it's time for you to get yourself out, and I think that we're so quick to, and I think that that's the thing, is like, people are just like, oh, finances, I'm not gonna spend, but how do you get this self to a point where you don't do this again? So that's where the mindset I'm at. I'm like, how do I get to a point where I don't do this again? So that's why you got to evaluate. Is it emotional spending? Am I spending is there something else going on in my life? Or do I just don't care about consequences? Because there's some people out here, they just don't care about consequences, and they think they have somebody else to clean stuff up for them. So that's all I have to say about that. Like, just make sure when you're making the plan, you're figuring out your mental psyche part of it as well, so that you can get out of whatever hole
and not
you're digging yourself in. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize, your parents can pass you down their hair, their eye color, their bone structure, and their habits. A lot of people, you are only repeating the household that you grew up in.
Right.
So it takes a lot of accountability and just being honest with yourself. How did I get here?
Right. And I think a lot of people have a scarcity mindset too.
Yes.
So they'll have that scarcity mindset where it's like, oh, I have to buy this because this might be gone later.
Right.
I have to get this because I can't do this now, or
I read this
certain
book
things.
one time, and it's a really good book. I think it's like the 21-day financial fast,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman spoke about grocery shopping with her husband, and he would put everything in the cart, like he would spend hundreds in the grocery store, and it drove her crazy. But come to find out, his mother used to tell him to put stuff back. We can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
So as an adult male, he would be reckless with spending in the grocery store because he finally felt control. He had power, and I'm going to spend the way I want.
Right.
But he's actually out of control.
Out of control.
In a way, absolutely you are. But like you do have to examine, like, why do I make the purchases that I make?
Right, right. And I think once you figure that out, I think then that's personally a part of a financial plan, and that's personally part of like getting your credit together, I think. And then once you get that, once you manage yourself, if you can manage $1,000, you can manage $4,000. If you can manage $4,000, you can manage $10,000. So I think that's why you have to figure it out.
That's why I wanted to make, because I heard your point about, maybe you have to get another job or do whatever you have to do in order to pay off the credit card. You mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, actually no, not sometimes. If you know how to budget the small stuff, when it comes to the big stuff, then you already know how to handle your money. So it's not necessarily meaning you have to go and get another job, because more money, more problems, right?
Right.
But maybe you should just reassess on where you're spending, and instead of adding more, maybe you should cut out more things that you don't need. Or sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to appreciate so you can live the way that you want to live.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
So,
That's fact.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For those who go to like Wawa every morning. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
nothing against it. If you can afford it, great. Or if that's your favorite thing, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But some people go there and spend $10 every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
$50 a week.
Mm-hmm.
$200 a month, and you didn't even get to dinner.
Yeah, and it adds up. Like it adds up.
Nowadays.
And literally, I'm telling people to do this. I'm gonna tell you guys because this changed my whole life too. Like I was reading a book, Clever Girl Finance. I love all their books. They have one for side hustles, and they have one for how to invest and all this stuff. But I was reading the book or listening to Audible. And one thing they challenge you to do is look at your statements. Look at your banking statements. Take all your cards, take all of everything, look at your banking statements. And then I took a highlighter and I highlighted everything. I highlighted food. I highlighted like what I was just paying in like just gas, everything. Broke it down. Yo, I was spending an extra $300 a month on just freaking takeout alone because I was running around all the time. I was like, girl, what's wrong with you?
So even though
That's what it is.
even though my business is just credit,
Right.
I definitely will talk to friends or clients and go over budgeting and management. So one of my favorite things to do when somebody tells me they can't afford something or I don't know where my money went, I'm like, well, let's see. So
Let's go find it.
So I give them a piece of paper, pen. I say, open up your banking app, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whoever you have, and make me 2 columns.
Mm-hmm.
Write me bills, other.
Mm-hmm.
I said bills are things that need to be paid for your household to run. Like your lights would be off if you didn't do this or whatever else. Other is every other thing that you did.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back 30 days and write down everything for 30 days. And people always start off so like, yeah, I'm going to show you. And then like they're going through and they're like, Helena. And I'm like, no, keep
going. We're not
keep
done.
going.
It's only day 2.
And the last person I had do it, she was like, I was so uncomfortable writing it. Like I can't believe what I do every day. Like and it's eating out.
It's the accountability.
Yeah. And the crazy part is like I didn't even realize like I'm like one of those people I don't really like. I'm on like a health kick. Mm-hmm. So when I eat out, I have to try to make sure that everything's like healthy, good, whatever. I don't like to eat fast food. And that junk is expensive.
Right. I've had people say to me, I can't believe I've been saying shots on me.
Yeah.
I had people because they
bottle serving.
They didn't know until they looked at until we did the exercise. They were like, "Yo, no more." People said, "I ordered 2 pizzas in 1 week." Like and it wasn't for themselves. They were just sometimes you're plating and you're like, "I got it. It's on me," and you don't realize, that on you adds up.
I tell you what. when I say like, oh, it's on me, I'd be like, yeah, I wish it wasn't. I'd be like, somebody help me. Somebody please help me.
No, so that was one thing. Like, literally, that was sobering for me because I was just like, dang. And
it's uncomfortable. You're like,
it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's you.
Nobody and then you're just like, oh, I gotta fix this. And that's when I was like, okay. Because when I really sat down, I was like, dang, my balances are high. How did this happen?
Maybe
when I always had a low balance. I had to evaluate.
Authorized user, you didn't even know it.
I know I don't. I don't put nobody on my card. I don't let nobody use it for jack. But no, I don't. But I literally just had to sit down and I was like, yo, I had to really reel back. And like I said, I had to ask, is this emotional? Is this going on? What else is going on? Yeah. Certain things, it was like, I guess you could say I was betting on myself by like taking classes and different things like that. But then I realized, well, are they investments if you haven't? I
said investments, but I was like, ooh, but did you
like,
do right?
Like, you know, if I didn't sit down and actually take the class, like, is that an investment? So that's why I was like, okay. And then that's when I also said, you know what, Danielle, not buying, don't work, because I like to learn, but sometimes, you know, time gets away from you. So I was like, you know what, Danielle, we're not buying no more classes until you finish the ones you already paid for.
Right.
Like, so that helped me too. And I saw a difference just within a few months of just really like sitting down, looking at all my stuff and then coming together and just making a plan. So I think that's like the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to segue to this too, because I have a brother. I don't want to put on my blast. I'll cut him out. I'll cut that out. But like
I have someone
who does not have credit whatsoever, but they want to do all these big things, right? But I've let them know, you're trying to move out, you need to get credit. You're trying to do X, Y, and Z, you need to get credit. Like, technically, the car he has, he shouldn't have. The only reason they have it is because, I'm not going to say all that. The only reason why they have it is because my parents gave him, like, the down payment and stuff like that for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yo, you gotta start doing X, Y, and Z. And then I found out he bought something else. I'm like, yo, get a secured card or something so you can start the credit process or anything like that. But it's just like, I mean, I can't make him do it. Right. I can't make anybody do anything. But it's just like that whole idea of like, you're older than me. I'm gonna need you to get your credit together or start doing this so that you can do all the things you want to do. So I want to know, like, what's a good... I told him to get a security card, but I don't know if that's actually a good place to start for someone who doesn't have credit at all. Okay. Like, how do you...
So the reality is, will this person pay their bills?
Well...
Because there's no point in opening, like, you can't build credit without having payment history.
Got it.
You're going to hurt yourself.
Right.
So are they going to pay? Because no matter what you get, it's going to be a payment.
Right. And I hope so. But like for anybody, I would hope so. But I guess in general,
we do hope.
For anybody who let's say they're like, okay, I'm ready to try and build up their bills. What would you do? I always suggest
self.
Self-lender. Okay, self-lender. Okay.
I love them. They are for credit building. So if someone already has cards open, they're not useful for you because you already established credit. But if you have nothing or you need to open up a card, they're a guaranteed approval. Okay. They report to all 3 credit bureaus. Okay. It appears like an installment loan, so you're making payments or low payments a month. You get your savings back in the end. And it's just been the most beneficial thing without putting money down for it. Okay.
I've heard of self. I wish I had known about it.
It was not around when it was time. Yeah, it was not around.
Because I was like, yo, when I was looking it up,
I had a little $300 card.
Exactly. Right. When I was looking stuff up, I was like, yo, that's really cool. Like it's almost like a savings account. Right.
And at the end, you get it back, and it's usually about 12 to 24 months. Versus a secure card, it doesn't become unsecured. You're just stuck with that amount and it never changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I got my when I had started, I had to get a security card. I couldn't get a card anywhere. I had nothing. So I ended up getting a security card. I got it through Discover. Okay. And then after a few, I want to say like a 6 months history or year history or something like that, they automatically wouldn't.
Shut up.
They did it. They got rid of the
Discover is one of the better secure cards.
Okay.
Because they're the only ones I know who has a rewards program for the secure cards.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like, you know, you get points and stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody get, because secure cards are like bottom of the barrel.
Right.
They have, you know, annual fees and stuff. Like,
so that's why I tell
that.
people.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, some of them do. That's why I tell people, for me personally, based on my experience, I would go with Discover, because once I got that secured card after a few months, like, I swear to you, it was like 6 months. It had to be 6 months. They just bumped it. They automatically bumped up my credit limit, and then they just, it's no longer a secured card.
But what they need to know is that that's 6 months of on-time payments.
Yep, that's 6 months on-time
of
payments.
Low score. I mean,
Yep.
low amounts. Ooh.
Low amount. Yeah, I wasn't maxing
some people
it out.
think, you know, oh, okay, I got the card 6 months. What happened? You told me I was going to...
And I put like, I think I put like $500 on it.
Okay.
I put like 500, and then after that, I did get that money back, I do believe.
Okay.
Yes, I got that money back. Put 500 on it, and then I only paid like $25 here, $25 there, and then I paid it right off. So that's how I did it. And that's how I ended up getting like a higher. They just raised it up for me after, like, I swear it was like 6 months. Mm-hmm. But I have heard other people say don't get secured cards. So that's why I was asking you. But
for most, because Discover doesn't approve everybody. Mm-hmm. So even though it's secure, they're still kind of strict. Mm-hmm. I've had people get denied by Discover for secure card and approved by Capital One for unsecured.
Oh wow.
Which is like a better card, but
right.
Discover can be kind of strict sometimes.
Okay.
And a lot of other banks, they don't do that. Like Bank of America, once you're secured, you're secured.
Okay.
So
yeah, my first credit card was a Bank of America Cash Rewards. And I still have that one till today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love that card.
All
Shout
right.
out to Bank of America.
and then there was another one, I don't know if you've heard of it, that I heard of, was like Kickoff. Yes, Kickoff. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that one's so fascinating. So pretty much, from what I understand, you go on the site and you can buy like something for like $10 or something like that, and then you pay it off like monthly or something like that. And
was it like Afterpay kind of?
Yeah, I guess, but that reports to your credit bureaus and stuff, and that helps you establish credit. Yes. Okay.
And also, now I'm glad that you said that. We are looking to see those services added to credit reports soon.
What?
Afterpay.
Oh,
Afterpay,
okay.
Klarna. I have no idea how it will affect people.
Right.
Now it says for those who are struggling to build and you've been using those services and you've been a good steward over those services, great for you. You're gonna build payment history.
Okay.
For those people who miss payments, like all that's going to reflect on your credit report.
Right.
Yikes.
Right.
And I thought, I'm like, oh, Klarna is amazing. Afterpay is amazing. The credit bureaus don't even know what you're over here doing. And now it's like, no.
Back to the file.
Yeah, we're going to bring that over here.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the other thing that I wanted to know. I think this is like the last question, really. But if you are on your journey to start paying off your credit cards, you have like high limits and stuff like that. What's the best method? Because I've heard of the Snowball Method of you paying off the smallest cards and then keep going to the bigger cards. But then I've also heard the other way around where you're like paying the biggest cards off because of the interest and then paying the smaller cards. What would you suggest?
I think for most, by the time you realize that you had these high balances, you're kind of feeling a little defeated. Mm-hmm. Like, how did I get here? Mm-hmm. So I would suggest, I like Snowball.
The Snowball?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Snowball because...
Just get it out the way.
Yeah, if I have one that's 300, one that's 600, one that's 1,000, like, and you get the 300 out the way, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. You know, like, whereas if you have a $10,000 card, that can take you a while to pay off. And then you still have the little ones. Like,
and they're adding in.
Yeah, it depends on what works for you. But I definitely would say Snowball. Okay. Now, I just had someone call me, and they were asking me, and I just love finance, real talk. Mm-hmm. So he was like, should I, not consolidate, should I...
Refinance?
What's the word I'm looking for right now? Maybe it is consolidate. No, it's not consolidate. But he wanted to transfer.
Balance
okay.
transfer.
Balance
I love
transfer.
That. I'm a queen of balance transfer.
Sorry about that. He wanted to balance transfer. Should he balance transfer? You know, like he called me like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm on the phone, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I did it in the past. I said, can I ask you a question? And he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, you gonna pay it? you gonna pay it? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, you have to, because I know for myself, you have to transfer the balance because you didn't pay it off when you said you were going to pay it off the first time.
Right.
I said, so you're going to keep on moving this debt around for the next 10 years? And he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, I said, I think you should take a real look at yourself and figure out how you can get rid of this debt before you. Because I've done them before, and it's great. It's great when you're going to be accountable.
Right.
I said, but there's no point in transferring over a $5,000 balance and then reusing that card that doesn't have a balance now.
Right.
Because then you're going to have a triple balance.
Yes.
Because, so the way the balance transfer works, you use your balance and you transfer it to the card, right?
Yep.
And lots of times that they give you between 12 months to 18 months to pay it off.
With no interest.
Zero interest.
Yep.
Oh! But then, if you have a balance on the card that you transfer to and you make those payments aren't going to the balance transfer payments, they're going to the balance that was already on the card. So the only way to do a proper balance transfer is find an empty card, do the balance transfer, pay that off before the time runs out so that you don't get double, triple payments.
Yes. She's 100% correct. Most people... Yeah, they give you this great grace period, like 12 months no interest, 18 months no interest. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but you don't do it.
No. And if you're going to do it, what I do, if you want to try my method, you go and make a little reminder mid-month, in the middle of when it's supposed to be due, before it ends.
Accountability.
The accountability, like, hey, what's that balance?
How we doing on that 18 months, you know?
Like, oh,
9 months in,
Yeah, I've never done a balance transfer, but I have done the Snowball Method, so this is what I do technically with it. So I pay off one card. Once I pay off the one card, I don't touch it. That card is
doesn't
dead
exist.
to me.
Yep.
It's dead to me. And then after I do that, I go to the next card. Whatever I was paying on that little card, I pay it on top of the minimum balance that I already had for the next card, and then I do that. And then once that's done, because I'm already used to the money being gone, once that's done, then I go to the next card, and then I just do the same thing. Like I'll pay the middle balance plus the cards, plus the money I was paying for the last two cards. So, and then that's how I get out of the debt a little bit faster.
Absolutely.
I never thought about the balance transfer thing because I'm actually gonna pay it.
Yeah.
So
it's a great tool for someone who's ready to be responsible.
Right.
It can be a bad tool
if you're not ready.
If you know that, like, oh wow, now my card has no balance. Let me go use it again.
Right.
You gotta feel that cut in order, like, to me, like, you have to feel that, oh my God, I can't stand having this balance.
Yes.
And that's the only way that you're gonna beat it, or else you're just gonna sit in that mess.
Yeah, and you gotta look. You gotta look.
And I know people
I have to look.
are like, they don't need credit or don't want to know about credit or whatever. And one thing you said in the beginning that I think people forget is, like, you need it for everything. And I'm saying that because while I do it for mortgages, you need it to rent.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like you can't get housing without credit. And I've seen people get denied for things that had nothing to do with housing for renting. Like, oh,
right.
you had a collection, you can't live here. Like, what?
Right.
So if that's the case, like, you really do need to take care of it.
Right.
And I work in Section 8.
And that's how it is.
And that's how it is, bro. Get your credit.
Right. And you know what also is interesting too? Like, one thing. Wait, what was I about to say? Gosh, it left me.
It's gonna come back to you. It's gonna come back.
So that's the one thing I also forgot. So when you mentioned about consolidation, too, I've heard people like consolidating all their credit cards. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea?
Instead of making one payment,
Put everything together and make one payment.
Yeah.
It would be similar, I guess, because they would be emptying out the other cards, right?
Right.
So I think it's going to be great again for a serious person who's ready to make the payment.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's up to them.
All right.
Yeah.
I just always wonder, like, because I know some people say, look, I've heard both sides. I've heard people like, don't do it.
Right.
It's just gonna make it worse.
You know
but
why
I've
people
also
say
heard
that?
people say,
because they didn't tell you I did it and didn't do right. Because usually people who tell you not to do something like that, they usually like, no, don't get a credit card. Okay, well, what happened when you had a credit card? Like tell me your experience.
They won't tell you.
Like they usually not telling you, like, the reason
They're telling you the truth, but not the whole truth.
Right. I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Right. All right, guys. So this was so good. So I'm gonna do our top 3 takeaways. This is where we tell you guys like exactly what we think y'all should do. So I'm gonna start first. Number 1, look at what your money's going. Like, look at it. Look at your card. Know your credit score. Know what your balances are. Know when your payments are due. Know all that stuff. Like, you need to look at it. Don't just be swiping that card, but you ain't paying attention to nothing. Like, y'all gotta actually pay attention. Mm-hmm. Number 2, make sure you're doing your education. Do your own research. Like, there's so much stuff out here. YouTube. I mean, I know there's a lot of information, so it can feel overwhelming. But definitely, like, there's Audible books. There's so much stuff for you to actually look at so you can teach yourself, because you might not have got this education at home, you know? And the last thing I'm going to say is no one is you. No one is you. Okay?
I had to move back, like, ouch.
No one is you. I had to learn that it was me. I had to, like, sit back and be like, God dang, Danielle, you messing up. Like, you got to get your life. Like, it's you. Like, really sit down, figure what's wrong with you, figure out if it's a mental thing, think about whatever, and get your finances together so you can live a bigger life out here. Like, we ain't trying to be poor.
No.
We ain't trying to be poor.
And everybody's on the generational wealth kick.
Yes. We're trying to have, like, a bigger thing.
These generational
curses, exactly. It starts with you. So,
no one is you.
Don't expect nobody else to save you. But go ahead, Mel. What's your top 3?
My top 3 is basically surround yourself with like-minded people, the people that you want to be like. So if you want to be flossing and you're wondering why they didn't get their gas bill cut off notice, then, like, maybe you should go and figure, like, pick their brain. Like, how did you...
Their gas got cut off?
Your money is money. I'm just saying, like, if you want to go and find out more about your finances, you have, like she said, you have all the tools in the world. We live in a day and age. Wi-Fi, internet is everything. You're about to find something to help your situation. Someone knows what you're going through. And if you're not internet tech savvy, then, like, there's books. And like I said, surround yourself with like-minded people that you want to be around. Number 2, definitely... 9 times out of 10, if you feel guilty about that swipe, you better take your butt out that store.
Return it.
Return it. I love returning. I love going back on my word. I didn't need that shirt. I just wanted to see what it was like in the bag. And number 3, live below your means. You don't necessarily need another job, because if you can handle having 50 cents in your pocket, what makes you think that you can handle a whole dollar?
But it's good word. It's good word.
We know you're broke. You should have returned that PS5. I don't even know how you got in the first place. Somebody go. Balance transfers and everything.
I hope not.
Be responsible. Oh, Jesus Christ. You need to sit at home in the dark and read the Bible.
So, Helena, what are your top 3 takeaways for this episode?
Well, so much was said. My top 3 takeaways are: look at your credit report. Mm-hmm. Even though you do not want to face it, I think that you should know what's on your credit report before you go have somebody else run it and tell you what's on your credit report. Like, if you know, you won't be surprised. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You'll never be surprised at a dealership or the mortgage table, because you already knew before you got there. So
you knew you couldn't afford it.
Check your report. Let me plug in annualcreditreport.com. Credit Karma gives you 2 bureaus. Most banking apps give you 1 of your FICO scores. Like, there's no excuse not to have some glimpse into your credit reports. Mm-hmm. So check your reports. My next takeaway would probably be educate yourself. Mm-hmm. there's just too many resources out here, and we all pretty much agree that we didn't get the education we probably would have liked in our childhood when it came to credit. Just the generic, you need credit, don't ruin your credit, So educate yourself. Take the time to read something, do something, surround yourself, talk to somebody. Hey, how did you buy a house? How did you do it? They'll tell you. It's a long process, but they typically will share that with you. And I think my last one, and I actually shared this with my credit group on Facebook, is accountability. Like you're not going to get anywhere financially without accountability. You have to be accountable for how you spend, and that's your personal finance and your credit. A lot of times, it's our own fault. Plug in real quick. I know that you guys probably heard authorized user and it's like, oh, okay, great, I'm gonna do that for my kids. Don't if you're not responsible. Because you may have good intentions, but you got to be accountable.
Right.
Be realistic.
Be accountable for your accounts.
Right.
You deserve all that credit.
Yes, and once you do, and hopefully this happens for our whole generation, you really do kind of change the way you talk about credit. Like I don't hate the word credit. Credit's cool with me.
Credit's cool with me. Yeah.
Credit got me a car. Credit gets me whatever I want. It allows me to buy stuff with somebody else's money and pay it back within a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
People who are, our elders maybe hated credit because they didn't do right with it.
Right.
So people who are like, oh, I don't want to hear about that, or like you have to evaluate why does the word credit bother you so much?
Right.
Like
what's a bad word?
Like what about it bothers you, I don't know. Just look into that.
Right. So, guys, I want to end it here. All right. First of all, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having my nervous self.
It was so good. All right. And as always, you can follow us at www.allegedlycredible.com. Also, guys, this is a question for you guys that we are going to put on our Instagram, and we're also going to have on the comment under the episode. How's y'all credit looking? Answer the question. How's it going? You don't have to tell us your scores or anything, but let us know, like, are you really good with your credit? Do you need some help? And if you need some help, we know where to go. We know where to go. We got Helena's services on the website. You can just click right there, go straight to her website. You can schedule an appointment with her. We got it all set up for you, okay? There's no excuses except for you.
Right. Where can we find you, Helena?
Yes. You could find me at www.financiallyfitcredit.net. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Financially Fit Credit.
Yes. And as you know, you can always follow me personally at Creative Lady Faye. That's where I have all my art and my music and sometimes writing. And you can also follow my fitness journey at Lady Faye 212.
You can find me on Instagram under mellow_supremo, and it's just gonna have a whole bunch of stuff.
And as always, like I said, you can always follow us at Allegedly Credible on Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok that we don't use. We're on Twitter that we don't use, but we're going to be using it soon.
We're on YouTube if you're watching us.
Yes, and we're on YouTube. You can watch us on Spotify and YouTube, and you can also listen to us on all major streaming platforms. Guys, peace out. Have a good one. Bye.